If you're a beginner skateboarder and you've never skated a flat rail or you're having trouble skating flat rails, this is the video for you, so stick around. In this video, I'm going to teach you about the different types of flat rails, the difference between frontside and backside on grinds and slides, and lastly, the first 2 tricks that I think you should learn when skating flat rails. What is a flat rail? How do we know if it's a flat rail or any other type of rail? There are many different kinds of rails: handrails, kinked rails, guard rails, etc. But these are flat rails. A flat rail is any rail that sits flat on the ground with no kinks or upward or downward angles. So basically there are 2 different types of flat rails, round and square. I've got Ramptech's flat rails with me right here, so let's take a look at them. This is Ramptech's round rail. As you can see, we've skated it pretty heavily. Round rails have a circular bar going down the length. This is Ramptech's square rail. Now, it's not technically a square shape, it's more of a rectangle, but any rail that has a flat top is considered a square rail. Both rails have adjustable heights. This is great for learning new tricks. You can learn a trick with the rail at its lowest setting and then move it up higher as you improve. Why are there 2 different types of flat rails? What are the benefits? Most skaters have differing opinions on whether square rails or round rails are better. It really just depends on your personal preference. Typically, square rails are better for learning beginner tricks such as board slides and 50-50s, but they can be done on both square and round rails pretty easily. What's the difference between frontside and backside when you're doing slides or grinds? Frontside and backside on grinds and slides is different than frontside and backside on flat ground rotated tricks. When your chest is facing the rail as you approach it, that trick is considered frontside. When your back is facing the rail as you approach it, that trick is considered backside. There's often confusion for what to call certain tricks because for many rail tricks, you have to turn your body backside, but you approach the rail frontside. For instance, when doing a backside board slide, you have to turn your body like a frontside 180. For many beginners, they default to the rotation of the body when naming the trick and call it a frontside board slide. This is incorrect. How you approach the rail takes precedence over body rotation when the trick is named. I know it can be pretty confusing at first, but trust me, you'll get the hang of it. Just remember, chest is frontside, back is backside. Before I teach you the first 2 tricks I think you should learn on flat rails, let's go over the difference between grinds and slides. A slide is when any part of the board makes contact with the rail, such as a board slide, nose slide, and tail slide. A grind is when any part of your trucks make contact with the rail, such as 50-50 grinds, 5-0 grinds, and nose grinds. Okay, now that that's out of the way, it's finally time to skate. Let's learn those first 2 tricks. The first trick is backside board slide. This was my first rail trick, and usually the first trick any beginner learns on a rail. In my opinion, it's one of the easiest sliding tricks. A backside board slide is when you approach the rail with your back facing it and you rotate 90 degrees and place the middle of your board onto the rail, and then rotate back into your normal stance for the landing. Keep in mind, I am doing these tricks in a regular stance. If you ride in a goofy stance, you'll need to think of doing these tricks as a mirror image of what I'm doing. It's a good idea to learn ollies and frontside 180s first. If you can't get the frontside 180 down, then you can practice doing half of one and turning at a 90-degree angle. This will be the motion you need to do to get onto the rail. Right before you pop, rotate your shoulders so they are perpendicular to the rail. Get a solid pop with your back foot and guide the nose of your board over the rail. You need to make sure you pop hard enough to get your front truck over the rail. If you have a low rail like this one, you don't have to ollie very high. This trick is focused mainly on getting the front of the board over the rail, and the back foot doesn't matter as much. In order to maintain the slide, it's best to rotate your board the full 90 degrees so it sits perfectly perpendicular to the rail. Keep a wide stance with your feet. It's ideal to have your back foot on the tail and your front foot over the front bolts. Try to keep your shoulders directly above your feet while sliding. If you lean too far forward, your board will stop moving and your body will keep going. If you lean too far back, the board will slip out from underneath you. This is why you want your shoulders directly above your feet. Keep your knees slightly bent to help you balance while sliding. It's also important to distribute your weight directly above the rail. It's very difficult to maintain your balance if you don't get all the way on top of the rail. When you are a few inches from the end of the rail, begin to rotate your feet back to their regular position and bend your knees to absorb the impact. Don't force the landing. Rotate and let your feet fall to the ground. The next rail trick is a frontside 50-50. In my opinion, it's the easiest grind trick. A 50-50 is when both of your trucks sit flat on the rail. Before trying a 50-50, it's best to get your ollies down pretty well. They don't have to be super high, but they do need to be high enough to get onto the rail you're attempting to grind. Also, practice ollieing out in front of you slightly. This is the motion you will have to make to get onto the rail. Approach the rail at a slight angle. You want to land directly on top of the rail, so get as close to the rail as you comfortably can. Try and land with a wide stance, with your back foot on the pocket of the tail and your front foot over the front bolts. Don't rotate your shoulders. You want to try and keep your shoulders as directly above your feet as you can. Keep your weight distributed directly above the rail. Bend your knees slightly to help maintain your balance. Lifting up your arms slightly will help you keep your balance as well. Right as you reach the edge of the rail, apply pressure to your back foot and slightly lift up your front foot. Don't try and force the landing. Once your back foot has reached the edge of the rail, allow your body to fall and your feet to meet the ground. Keep your knees bent to absorb impact, and right away. Get these 2 tricks down and you'll be well on your way to mastering flat rails. Don't forget to practice a ton. Have fun and be safe. Let us know what you need help with, or any kind of skateboarding tips in general. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can see every time we post a video, because we've got a ton of beginner level tips coming up. And as always, skate hard.